Hey man, I want to record a little video for you to explain how you can make use of Story Framework's task system. So I'm going to set up a little example here inside the example map, and the goal here is for you to use this video as a reference to set up tasks in your own project. I'm going to cover how we can go about creating the task, and then how we can use the task to disable or enable interaction with items depending on whether or not the task is completed or not. So let's jump into that now. So if we go ahead and hit player, we have our player walking around. For this example, when the game starts, we're going to have a task that says pick up duct tape. When the player picks up this duct tape, we are going to, let's say, allow the player to pick up this cassette. So by default, to disable items from being able to be interacted with, we can give this actor a tag, and the tag is called soft locked. So if this actor has the tag, or if an interactable has the tag soft locked, then the item will not be able to be interacted with. So as we can see, we have no prompt here, and there's no interaction options. So we can manipulate this tag, we can remove it or add it depending on whether or not we want the player to interact with something. So let's jump into setting up the task itself. I'm going to be doing this inside the level blueprint just as an example. So we're going to, off of event begin play, we first need to get a reference to the inventory manager, I believe. Yeah, so with a reference to the inventory manager, so we can right click and search for get SF inventory manager. Off of this blue link, we can search for a add task, a add main task to queue. So this is the base function that you're going to use to create a new task. Off of the task info, we can search for a make, and this will give us all the info for our task. So the task header, this is important. This task header is used to identify this task specifically if for any reason we need to edit the task or remove it. So we'll give the header pick up duct tape. The description will be find and pick up a duct tape item. The task image will leave empty, as there's no image we need to use right now. We can give our task a timer. If we leave the timer set to 0, then this task won't have a timer. But for the example, we will just set the timer to 20 seconds. Insert in queue at index. If we leave this at 0, it will add the task at the first possible position. So tasks they work sequentially, which means each new task that gets added to a list of tasks. Once one gets completed, the next one will then move up to, or the next one will move up and become the main task. So we can go ahead and test this now. If we hit play, we should see in the top right a task that gets added. So we can see in the top right we have the task pick up duct tape. Then what we can do is we can also drag off of this inventory manager reference again. We can create a reroute by dragging off and searching for reroute, just for organization purposes. Then again, off of this reroute pin, and we can search for a bind event to on item added to inventory. So this will track items that get picked up by the player, and then every time an item gets picked up, it will call this event. So we'll just call this event on item picked up. So to create this event, again, we can drag off of the red event pin and search for custom event, and it will prompt us to add custom event. Off of this blue interaction data pin, we can break. The object name pin is what we're looking for here. So the duct tape item names are duct tape. So we can go ahead and copy that. Then off of the object name, we can search for an equal. We're looking for equal exactly string. And if it is equal exactly to duct tape, that would mean our item or our player has picked up a duct tape. So we can, just for, again, organization purposes, if we select a break structure, we can go over to the details panel and hit hide unconnected pins. So now we'll only have the object name pin, which we are using. So now basically this few nodes here are checking if the player has picked up a duct tape. If it has, we are now going to copy the inventory manager, and we can just search for the complete current main task function. So this will complete the task that's currently active, or the main task. So we can go ahead and test this now. If we hit play, we'll have our task in the top right. If we go ahead and pick up a duct tape, that task will complete itself. So now that we know when the player is picking up a duct tape, we can also now edit other items in the world. Or in your level, sorry. So since we're doing this in the level blueprint, we can reference any actor that's in the level. So to do this, we can just simply click on the actor that we want to reference, go back to our level blueprint. We can right click and we can create a reference to this actor, which in our case, or in my case, is the interactable base underscore BP4. Now that we have a reference to this actor, we can just drag off of this and we can remove, or we can get tags. So we can get this actor's tags. Remember, we are using the soft lock tag to disable interaction. And then off of this, we can remove item. And the item or tag we are looking for is soft locked. So now we are removing the soft lock tag from this actor. So we can compile and save, and we can test this out. So we can't interact with our cassette. We have the task pick up duct tape in the top right. If we pick up a duct tape, we should now be able to interact with this cassette. So like I mentioned before, tasks are sequential. So we can do something like creating all the tasks at once for the player throughout a certain segment of your story. So to do this, we can just select the add main task to queue function that we were using originally, and we can collapse nodes. We can call this new graph that we just collapsed everything into, we can call it create tasks. We can delete the pins on this as it's not needed. We're going to set those values up again inside this new collapse graph. So this is our first task. Just reorganizing this blueprint. So we have this create tasks. So this is our first task. And then immediately after, we can just simply create another new task. We do need a reference to the inventory manager. So again, I'm just entering this collapsed graph by double clicking on it. And then I can go back to the event graph up at the graph directory on top. So I'm entering this graph and I'm just connecting up these add main task functions. So then we can say the next function will be find Alice and go to the location where Alice was last seen. This is just an example. We can give it no time, so the player has infinite time to finish this quest or this task. And then we can connect everything up. So now if we go ahead and hit play, we can see we have our pick up duct tape task, and then in the top right underneath that we can also see our upcoming task, which is find Alice. So if we go ahead and complete this task, we now get prompted with the next task, which is find Alice. And then obviously from there we would set up our own or your own custom logic and complete tasks similarly to how we just did with picking up items. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of how we can utilize Story Framework's task system and how you can shape it into something that works for your specific project.